Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, April 9th, 2014 Planning Board meeting for the town of Raymond. The Planning Board will come to order. The board does have a quorum. We'll call roll call.
Bill Priest.
Greg Foster.
Robert O'Neill.
Bruce Sanford. Ben Crowder.
And with us tonight from the staff is Chris Hansen, our code enforcement, and Jim Seymour, our town planner, and Danielle's typing away. This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all of the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chairman if you are unable to hear or to see. The board works from a published agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. We've got some minutes, approval of some past minutes, and then a tabled application from the Boy Scouts of America. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinances. After the board votes on the merits of each project application, it will prepare a written notice of decision. Because the notice of decision may substantially affect any appeal rights, and also as a matter of courtesy, the board asks that those attending the meeting with regard to a specific project not leave until the board has completed its discussion on the project. Generally speaking, appeals from adverse decisions must be filed with the appropriate appeals Board of Superior Court, as otherwise provided by law, within 30 days of this board's decision. Also, to be certain that you preserve your individual rights to file any such appeal, you must be certain that this board's record evidences your appearance this evening in opposition and the basis of your opposition. All persons speaking, including representatives of the applicant and members of the public, are asked to stand, state their name, address, and affiliation with the project. You must sign the sign-in sheet if you are speaking for or against a project. All persons speaking shall address the chairman. All right, so our first order of business is the minutes of February 12th, 2014.
I'll move the minutes to that meeting.
Second.
And I think those are the minutes I gave you, right, Daniel? That have,
Yes.
so, any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next is the minutes up from the March 12th, 2014.
I'll move those minutes. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes approved. All right. Next, we'll need a motion to remove the tabled application from the table so that we can start work.
I shall so move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? No one opposed? Okay. Jim, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight, in the audience here is the Boy Scouts of America Pine Tree Council. They're looking to receive final approval of their Camp Hines improvement project. Under that project is included a new internal loop drive road, widening some existing access drives, construction of a new, it's actually 9,600 plus square foot dining hall, dining lodge, relocated parking and drop-off area, approximately 125 spaces, improvements for some subsurface wastewater systems on both the training facility lot and the dining lodge lot, construction of a multi-purpose recreation grass field, and various improvements for utility upgrades. This project was before the board for public hearing at last month's meeting. At that time, there were some issues that the board wanted resolved prior to granting any kind of a final approval. We went through all the shoreline zoning requirements, standards, as well as the site plan review standards. The applicant resubmitted plans March 31st, addressing several of those. Of particular, I think the two that the board will have most concerns is that we have not heard from any correspondence from the Maine DEP with regards to the stormwater permit. And a second issue which may be of concern was, and I think the applicant has some information on that this evening, is near Camp Hines headquarters training facility, there's a baseball field, and in the Maine Historic Preservation Commission's review, there were some artifacts or potential artifacts found near Plains Road which may require additional testing or test pitting for. I had concerns that the septic system as part of the training facility was getting close to that area, and had requested that the applicant provide new information or get an updated letter from the Maine Historic Preservation. So we may hear more about that from the applicant later on in this tonight. Also of substance was an updated standard operation procedure for the firing of the shooting ranges. We'd heard from the public lots of concerns with the hours of operation. Briefly, let me find it here. The changes would be that they've added a 300 by 500 limited natural buffer between Plains Road and the shotgun range. In addition, they've also addressed many of our concerns with regards to operating hours. And again, I'll let the applicant explain exactly what those changes were and how they plan to operate that. But most of it was taking out of a lot of the weekend use. Only after Labor Day would there be really any kind of operations on the weekends. And the hours of operation were still the same, but they agreed to use smaller caliber weapons on what I call the ends of the day, the beginning in the morning and late in the afternoon. But again, we'll let the applicant explain in detail how they plan to facilitate that. So at this time, I think it would be appropriate for the applicant to make his presentation on the new materials.
Tim Smith, landscape architect with Terrence One Associates. With me tonight is Alex Auerbach, he's the executive director of Country Council Scouts. Walt Simpson, he's a volunteer vice president of properties, and Scott Martin, secretary, he's the ranger on site. So they're all available to answer questions as well. As Jim discussed, I'll briefly go through some of the updates that we had talked about, and we can discuss further if you want to additional information on some of those. One of the things that we required last time were the approvals. We provided approvals. Actually, I'll go around the corner. We provided the, as requested, the approvals from the state for the waste systems on the training center lot. That was in the most updated submission. Archaeological information related to that. What Jim was talking about in the letter is actually in this latest submission. There were test pits that were provided on site when they did the archaeological visit, and it was our interpretation based on that. I think I have it here. Our interpretation based on what they were discussing, this is a grid system, how they have the system laid out. And they found the archaeological information that they found were some chips, etc., were found at Station 21, which is in this location. And our septic field is behind that location. So it was based on our interpretation of that letter that we were okay because it stated anything further to the road than that would be in question. So that's the discussion we were having with Jim. Jim stated it would be nice to have an updated letter from Historic Preservation. We have not done that yet. We can follow through if that's your request, but we wanted to see if you had a similar interpretation and see what your thoughts were on there. And interestingly enough, the Google Earth aerial was taken like 6 days after their study, so you can actually see the test pits on the field if you go to the Google Earth. So that's where that one stands at the moment. We look to your interpretation on that. We have entered the updated SOP, and Eric can speak on that. Like Jim said, it essentially describes who's going to be using it, the caliber firearms that they use, and more detail of the hours. Another item was we resolved at the training center, or at the dining hall, we needed a water tank and a dry hydrant, and I talked with the fire inspector, and we came up with a location that he said he was okay with. The hydrant is located just off the corner. It is 120 feet from the structure, which exceeds the 100-foot typical standard, but the hydrant, he said the location was okay because it has to be 10 feet away from the edge of the road. That was one of the updates. They want a stormwater update, some updates to the stormwater plan that were made and submitted. The limited natural buffer, that's the location just to the north of the shooting range. I don't know if you can see it better on the colored plan. And what I did on that, I specified an area that was 300 by 500. And the reason for doing that was specifically as you get further to the west, the tree line cuts back in. So from the shooting range, 300 feet that direction hits the edge of the tree line. So instead of coming up with some convoluted form to try to create a natural buffer, a deeded area, we thought a nice rectangular space would be adequate and still provide the buffering that we needed. So that's where the 300 by 500 came into place. Parking, Jim had pointed out that we didn't have enough accessible spaces according to what we were projecting for the dining hall. So I have updated with this plan. You won't have it yet, but I can explain the configuration. It's on the updated site plan now. What we had done, we had 73 regular spaces. Well, first off, it's based on one parking space per 3 seats for an assembly area. So assuming the dining hall is being treated as an assembly area, that makes us, based on our seating of 400, have 133 spaces required. So, and as the updated plan shows, the math wasn't perfect in the other one. There's 73 regular spaces in the large parking area. We have 34 grassed over spaces in the parking area. And there's 9 trailer spaces. And then what I'm assuming is in a non-trailing event, because that's only at drop-off, just for the assembly area, if there is some sort of event, that 9 could actually turn into 18 spaces because it's a double-wide space. So I've used that in the calculation as well. So with the 8 additional spaces, there's 5 for staff at the dining hall, and then there were 3 accessible and 2 regular parking spaces before. So I made all 5 of those spaces at the dining hall 5 accessible spaces to meet the requirements for accessibility. Because based on my findings, if you're under 150, you're only required to have 5 per use. Yeah, there'll need to be 5 within that. So the total actually comes out to 134 of the required 133 spaces. So we meet the standard on that. Public Works. We've stated that we were going to work with Public Works to create, a green space in front of the parking area, and that's on Plains Road. That's still the intention. We added at that location 2 painted crosswalks for crossing back over to the training center. In addition to that, there were, in the most recent correspondence with Jim, and for this plan, he asked for vegetated coverage on the plan, which I've included now, where it has to be, the percentage has to be under 40% for new clearing, and the totals work out to be 7.55 acres of new clearing, which is only 5.9% of the overall acreage. So we're fine on that front. He asked for some no parking signs to be installed, or at least limit the parking from the parking area 100 feet to the west, and from the multi-purpose area 100 feet to the south. So I've located those and I've shown signs on the plan for no parking in those areas along that road. Tree removal. Parking, no parking signs. And I think that's about, I think that basically wraps up the improvements. If there's any other specifics we'd like to talk about, that's what we're here for. So,
Question I have, rereading the minutes from one of the earlier meetings where we discussed it, just refresh me where the existing septic system is in relation to the camp drive that's going to become a pedestrian path.
yep. The existing set.
The existing, yeah, septic field. There's a note in the minutes that there were not going to be any protective measures taken
Okay.
to the existing septic field because there was no traffic expected over the old camp road.
Okay, that's a proposed septic field, actually.
Oh, so the minutes are incorrect there. Okay.
So we should, so, and what that's stating is, the existing parking area that's going to be converted to a septic area, didn't have measures to protect it. And our response to that is, now that that's going to be a gated drive only for emergency or internal use, that the protection is not an issue.
Right, and that was my concern. If there's a fire and a loaded fire pumper truck has to go down that road and somehow strays 5 or 10 feet off the left of that path, he could crush one of your septic chambers and maybe even get stuck, you know, drop a wheel down into something and not be able to get to the fire. What's your response?
Okay.
Has anybody thought about that aspect?
I think with the final grading, one of the conditions that we're asking for is that the final design of that be a condition of approval with the dining hall building
So
permit.
that grade may be raised a little relative to the
So we
road?
will have a closer look at that point to be able to determine if some structure is going to be needed or not.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe that's something that, you know, raise that up a foot or 18 inches or something, so there's a clear delineation from the road, and there won't be any chance of a stray there.
Yeah, the other thing we could do is, you know, during the construction, there'll be a lot of excavation, maybe a few large rocks or something could be placed there as well.
Exactly, sure.
Either that or just move the proposed system 10 feet back from the road. It wouldn't take much to do that. The test pits there's only one test pit done. They'll have to do another one before they do the design, but it wouldn't take much to just move that system 10 feet.
All the same soil.
Exactly.
So noted, thank you.
Oh, the other question I had, the islands that are shown on the new 73 car parking lot with the 9 double wide spaces, that's all a gravel parking lot, correct?
The gravel, it's a gravel parking lot.
Are the islands just shown?
In
just-
my graphic, I showed the island is grassed, and I think it's probably decent to be able to, since we're grassing the far edge, it makes sense to me to grass those in as well, and it will also help with the.
So you may put a little row of boulders or something around that just to delineate it, or, okay.
Logs,
Correct.
boulders, something.
That's fine.
Are there any other general comments, questions? Are you all set?
Yeah, I believe I can go over the conditions that I have on the plan. I know that there might be some additional, so I hadn't updated that from what you see on your plans. Would you like to discuss those, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The conditions that I had put on there were that the detailed site plan be submitted for the building permit application for the dining hall for review and approval by the town's code enforcement officer prior to issuance of a building permit and construction start. So the plan should include proposed contours, service drive, new foundation grades, retaining wall details, and that was A. The B would be proposed utility locations and details including water connections, septic tanks and connection, grease trap, propane service, condensers, and water tank elevations and connections for sprinkler system. And then C, temporary erosion control measures during construction. So that was the first condition of approval, which,
Could I bring up one quick point about that?
Yep.
It might not be a bad idea, even though we all see where the dining hall is, if there were a dining hall site plan construction work limit indicated around the dining hall.
Okay.
So we kind of knew, you know, what you're going to be presenting in the future as opposed to what is really, you know, pertinent to the plan that we're looking at right now.
how, a limit of further review for dining hall approval.
Yeah, work limit line or something to that effect.
That's a good one. And then the second one was specifically the wastewater disposal for the dining hall. The applicant shall submit final septic design and state approval to the Town of Raymond Codes Enforcement Officer prior to installation for review and approval. The plans shall include proposed contours for the septic field showing positive drainage away from the septic fields and road shoulders so that trapping of surface water does not occur, temporary erosion control measures during construction, and a second test pit location with results. So that was the second condition. And third, we said was a three-phase power because that hasn't been fully designed yet. We've started coordination with CMP, but we're not to that point. Three-phase power, applicant must submit final three-phase power pole, line, transformer, and CMP easement locations to the Town of Raymond Codes Enforcement Officer prior to installation for review and approval. So those were the three that we had stated on the plan. And I know if you go through the additional notes, it addresses some of the limited natural buffer, and I know there's language that Jim had suggested adding to that. There is a section for deeded buffers and easements, which includes all the stormwater buffers. We'll be providing eventually the deeds, the registered deeds with those, and displays representing each one of those buffers and their descriptions.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Jim?
it may be beneficial to have an understanding too where we are with the main DEP with those permits.
That was going to be my next question.
Yep. We had correspondence with them yesterday, and they had some questions. Those questions were responded to. So it's in the process, and we're hoping to hear from them by the end of the week that everything is a go. The questions were nothing of serious concern, so we anticipate that it will go through as planned.
Okay. Ron?
I was wondering if we should go through item by item the conditions of approval to consider that Jim came up with and discussed with Jim which ones are still relevant, which ones we feel have been met by the changes in the plans, and
Yeah, I think we'll do our, you know, we have to go through each of these things like we did on the
Okay,
shoreline zoning and land zoning, and then when we get to that point,
okay.
Jim's got a surprise for us. He's gonna treat us to ice cream, something like that.
We have to vote on each one of these technical requirements.
Yeah, yeah. All right,
So
thank
we
you.
all set?
Yep,
Thank you.
you're all set. So we'll proceed with, Jim's memo there on page 2, the technical review of the shoreline zoning standards. We'll look at, we'll maintain safe and healthful conditions out of a shoreline zone. What does that page start on?
Which one?
the shoreline zoning standards to maintain safe and health conditions.
So it's on page 2 of my memo?
No, not of your memo, of the actual.
Oh, in the ordinance?
Yeah, in the ordinance.
Page 1 of 65.
Oh, well, that's why I can't find it.
Which page was it, Chris?
Page 1 of 65, purpose.
No.
No, he's looking for
No,
the
I'm looking for
actual.
Oh, the actual,
Yeah, the actual standards. It's further back.
They are. After each one of those. I think I would, wouldn't you? Thanks, Danielle. It's not what you expect.
All the way to definitions.
Requirements, purpose, general.
Here we go.
It's in the middle. It's on page 47 of 65.
Good, got it, thank you. All right. All right, so we'll take these one at a time. The first thing we'll be looking at is the shoreline zoning standards. We'll be maintaining, in shoreline zoning standards, excuse me, we'll be maintaining safe and healthful conditions. Are there comments along those lines?
The only comment I had is in Jim's statement, he said the board should discuss the issue of hours of use and the need for security signs or warning measures. I think the scouts have adequately addressed the issues of use in their new late March summary of usage position paper that you've issued. What about the security signs and warning measures? I believe that I read that a range and use flag was going to be used for interior staff alert and camper alert. What about warning signs? Are any of those planned, or how would they be used?
Yeah,
I can take it.
I'll address it and then let you follow up. We had stated that's going to be part of, based on the NRA standards, which is roping off the area, and it's providing signage every 100 feet along that roped-in area.
The signage just says that there is a live range in the proximity. There's nothing active about the signs, that there's a flip chart that somebody goes and flips when the range is in use or anything like that.
The standards, and I don't remember the exact dimensions, it's like 12 by 16 white sign with red lettering that says specifically, range and use.
It says dangerous shooting area, do not enter, and that's up all the time, so it's not turned on or off. And that's standard what we do right now anyhow, but we're gonna modernize our signage to match the NRA signage, which is bigger and more.
Are those signs noted somewhere in a sign box, or proposed signs for the plan, noted on the plans anywhere?
Only in our correspondence, only in the written correspondence, it's not on the plan, so we could
Chris, how do you feel? Would you like to see the signs actually delineated on the plans, or just make that something that you review for the permit, or what?
I'm comfortable with it in the written language, that it's 100 feet, if that's in the NRA standards.
The signage is 100 feet, but I think the actual line, the reason it's not on the plan, I think it's one of those things that's best delineated in the field. Once the clearings and ranges are set, you have a much better sense of a comfortable zone. That's the reason I hadn't shown it on a plan.
Okay, all right, yeah, Chris is happy with that.
Wouldn't it be sufficient for the plans to say that they'll operate under NRA standards? Period, not have to delineate them.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Will we be getting a copy of those standards?
Did.
We already have.
Yes.
Required to provide it for the last meeting.
Yeah, they were the whole thing.
On the sports, on the operating procedures, is there a contact? I mean, I envision this probably going out to, definitely to the abutters that were here for the public hearing, that kind of were concerned about the noise, and probably the ones that are will be most interested in that. How do they contact you if the noise is, if the range is being used outside of these hours? Or, you know, if there were indeed some emergency that needed to be stopped, how would they go about doing that?
Well, the resident ranger is always present when the rangers are in use, and then my cell phone number and my contact information is on the Pine Tree Council website, and it's also posted at Camp Hines currently.
Okay, so
So
that's
that's
pretty readily available.
for all emergency procedures. I mean, someone could walk right into the Camp Hines Training Center and look and see me as an emergency contact right now.
And that's open all the time?
Well, it's not open to the public, but
Right.
it is open when people are there.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. That answers that. Thanks. Any other concerns?
Is this where we talk about the crosswalks here in front of the building?
This would be a time.
I can see from the drawing, it would basically the same crosswalks that are there now. And it only shows one sign, pedestrian crossing, there's gotta be another, on the west side, there's probably one on the east side as well. But I couldn't find the second one. I see a pedestrian crossing, then I see a sign on the west side, but I don't see one.
Well, there's an arrow going.
There's two arrows from the one note that go each direction.
Two arrows.
Not this, not that.
Oh, I
It's
see.
not right here.
Walks as opposed
This
to a
is-
sign.
Yeah,
Location right there.
oh, it's another right there. Okay, yeah. Okay, great.
Mr. Chair, I think the Public Works Director is also working with them as far as providing adequate signage for crosswalks. So it'll be coordinated with Public Works as well.
And the parking area is also being altered, right? Is that, I've read that?
The intention is to work with Public Works to provide like about a 5-foot buffer between the roadside and the parking itself. But we haven't worked out those details, so I haven't shown it specifically on a plan yet,
Okay.
but that's the intention.
Okay.
And those are included in one of your conditions that I've listed.
Okay. What else? Then we'll be happy with,
Actually, I have a question.
all right.
Isn't that great?
They're not cutting any harvesting.
Well, this is, they should. I guess it's actually from Jim's memo. On page 3, he's got regarding, in the first paragraph, the shooting times, it says occur from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and after 5 p.m. Is that 8 a.m.? to
8 a.m., it
10
should be a.m., sorry. Tough shooting in the dark.
And is this restricted only to 22 caliber and nothing else?
Yeah, that's 22 caliber and pellet, small calibers, from those front and end of the day hours.
Yeah. It's too bad to restrict it to that. Were there times when someone else might use the range, law enforcement? I know we talked about that, I don't remember.
Yes, and in the statement that we gave back to the board, we said unless a special event is scheduled. So, you know, we do state in there that there may be a special event.
Would someone be able to use their own caliber handgun as opposed to a 22 if there was a different kind of event that, they, like, I don't know, people are trained with another size weapon?
Yeah,
Oh, I
Is
see what
that
you're saying.
allowed?
yeah. What would happen is, what they've suggested is that off-season programs for sworn law enforcement officers or other special programs for their Sea Scouts, their venturers, or even for hunter safety could happen, and most of those will happen after Labor Day, and those aren't restricted to calibers.
Yeah, and it's only restricted for the early in the afternoon, late in the afternoon. The middle of the day is fine.
So 10 to 5 is,
Wide open.
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. I can be dense.
All right.
Okay, so we'll need a, if everybody's happy, we'll need a motion for, if the plan meets the safe and healthful conditions.
I'll move that the plan meets, maintain safe and healthful conditions review of the shoreline zoning standards.
Second.
Is there, I get, one last question. On the parking lot, the new parking area from the drop off, the new parking area that's you're developing to the proposed multipurpose recreational field, is there a trail between those two that keeps people from having to walk out onto the road?
Not currently, but that can be established. I don't think there's an existing trail.
There is a trail.
Yes.
There is presently a trail there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's a wood path that actually goes between the two.
Okay,
As
Good.
opposed to having people walk along the road.
right.
Yeah.
So it's through the woods to
Yes,
the,
sir.
great. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passed. Move to our next item, that the plan will not result in any water pollution, erosion, or sedimentation to surface waters. I think that we're waiting on the DEP. All the water is being captured from the parking areas, is that correct?
Treated, yes.
And treated?
Buffer areas,
Um,
and one treatment area.
Yeah. Are there any other, and I'm assuming that we're not going to be discussing your new dining facilities in this. Is the DEP gonna give you, what did you apply for the whole package?
Yeah.
With the with,
For everything.
okay.
Mr. Chair, the only thing that would be excluded, and this is what we discussed at the last meeting, is if they make changes to the headquarters.
Right.
Right.
That was not covered under this DEP, but everything else you see on this plan has been submitted to DEP.
Okay. What do we all think? Questions?
Well, I a question for Jim. Jim, your last sentence in that paragraph, it may be possible for the board to add as a conditional approval prior commencement of work that all main DEP permits be submitted, treatment buffers be shown in deed, recorded, provided to the town, et cetera, et cetera. Is there any portion of that sentence that you think has been satisfied, that if we get to the point of conditional approval, that is there anything in that sentence that would not be a condition of approval?
No, I think everything in there is pertinent.
Still stand,
And they'll
okay.
have to record those buffers anyway for the DEP, we just want a copy of them, that's all.
Okay. All right.
Any other? Right?
No, I'm all set.
I guess I would move that the project will not result in water pollution, erosion, or sedimentation to surface waters. Under the shoreland zoning standards, with the caveat that there are outstanding issues of main DE permits, treatment buffers to be shown in deed and recorded and provided to the town, and that the buffer plan exhibits for the stormwater treatment be shown on the drawing, that those have not technically been met, but that barring those being met, the application does not result in water pollution, erosion, or sedimentation to surface waters.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, that the plan will adequately provide for the disposal of all wastewater. Jim's-
Yeah, Mr. Chair, you have one approval for the training facility. However, they've asked to defer on the one for the dining hall until such time as they've got that final design completed. Which we're fine with. The soils are very good there, and, you know, Chris won't issue a building permit until they have that.
So is that gonna be down as a condition? Okay.
I have a question of the applicant. Scott Martin and I had a conversation about issuing the subsurface wastewater disposal system for the building on the opposite side of Plains Road, one that's already approved. Are we going to allow them to do that prior to any of these DEP approvals, or wait until everything is approved and recorded? How does the board feel about that?
I think to answer that, I think they're tied to the DEP that they can't do
They
any.
can't start until everything is done.
That's what we've always
So
done.
everything would have to be approved from DEP, the deeds recorded, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
The other piece of that too, which we get into coming up very shortly, is what do we do with it's kind of tied to that archaeological issue, the septic system.
Yeah, is this
training
tied
facility.
here? Is that gonna come up?
It's coming up later on, so I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they have an approval from the state for that septic system. I think the only question will be is, you know, do we want to do some careful monitoring of that, or do we want to just get a letter just confirming that state historic preservation is done and satisfied?
But I think we can do it separately. I mean, we can do it separately,
yeah.
right?
I
Yeah,
mean,
so
just-
let's just,
Right, that's the only reason it even came up is because of the location of
Yeah.
the septic system, so.
we have always waited for those DEP letters, and in fact, for a while there, we were actually not even putting it as a condition, but we were actually waiting for the letters to come in
Okay.
before we would actually approve.
Oh, I'm good with that, I just want to make sure that
Yep.
we were clear.
Mr. Chairman, I just had a question of clarification, because you said that we needed to record deeds before we could build a septic system. Are you talking about
For
the,
the buffers.
for the buffers? Yeah, okay, thanks.
All right, will adequately provide for disposal of all wastewater, so we're talking, we're not talking about the proposed sites for the dining hall, we're just talking about the other site. Is there any more discussion? Everybody happy? Someone want to make a motion?
I'll move that the applicant will adequately provide for the disposal of all wastewater. It has met that criteria.
With the conditions noted?
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's all right. For a second?
Second.
Any other further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okey-doke. We're up to item 4, that the project will not have any adverse impact on spawning grounds, fish, aquatic life, bird, or other wildlife habitat.
Except those living in the gun range.
Except those right at the gun, yeah. Except the deer crossing in the gun range. I don't think we have much, I don't think there's much of a problem here. Is that,
No,
okay.
no.
So, do we have a motion?
I'll move that the applicant has complied with, and their application will not have an adverse impact on spawning grounds, fish, aquatic life, bird, or other wildlife habitat.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Up to number 5, will conserve shore cover and visual as well as actual points of access to inland waters. Again, I don't think we have any problems here at all.
So I'll move that the project conserve shore cover and visual as well as actual points of access to inland water.
Anyone discussion? Second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All right, will not adversely affect, oops, sorry. 6, here we go. Will protect archaeological and historical resources as designed in the comprehensive plan. So now we can talk about the chips.
We are apparently awaiting a letter, an updated letter from the Archaeological Preservation Commission regarding this issue.
No, it's not been
Which
written.
we
We're not.
requested.
We're going to
that-
discuss tonight whether we want that or not.
Oh, okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we suggested that could be
Jim did.
suggestions that
After, just my own personal take on it was after reading the letter that came from the National Guard survey and the letter that we got from the Maine Historic Preservation Societies, that the area that they're planning to put their septic system didn't seem to me to fall into the area that they were concerned about. The area that was referenced by the Historic Society was the area directly south of the grid section and possibly across the road, whereas the area they're looking at for their septic system appears to be southwest of that. To me, that didn't seem like it fell in the same area, and I felt satisfied that they'd met that criteria.
I tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
Is there, agree? So do you want a updated letter, or are we comfortable with what we received?
I'm comfortable with what we've received already.
For this application, yeah, I think any future application, the letter from the Maine Historic Preservation Commission, the last part of their last paragraph makes clear that if there, in regards to a future HQ operation, moving of resources in the area for future rearrangement for personnel or buildings, that might be an issue, but that apparently is not germane to this application.
All right, we need a motion.
I'd move that the applicant will adequately protect archaeological and historic resources as they designated in the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Jim, is there any reason why we should, that we're missing, that we should be getting a second letter, other than it would be,
just covering our tail would be the only reason that we'd even consider it.
yeah, okay. Any other questions? All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Up to item 7, will not adversely affect existing commercial fishing or marine activities in the commercial fisheries or maritime activities district. This one you may have trouble meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll move the project does not adversely affect commercial fishing or maritime activities in the commercial fisheries or maritime activities district.
Second. Any discussion, questions? All those in favor? No one opposed, motion carries. Number 8, will avoid problems associated with floodplain development and use.
I don't
Any,
see any issues there.
well,
It's not
anyway,
even close to the floodplain.
nope. We have a motion?
I'll move that the applicant complies with, will avoid problems associated with floodplain development and use.
Any other discussion? Oh, we need a second?
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Motion carries. Number 9 is in conformance with the provisions of section 15 of the land use ordinance, so we switch. Oh, wait, did I skip one?
Nope, you're good.
No, okay. All right.
So B is on page 16 of 65, if you want to follow.
16 of 65. In shoreline? No, in
Yeah, section 15 of shoreline.
of shoreline, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Page 16.
Page 16.
Which paragraph are you looking at?
It's section B.
Principal accessory structure.
That's the first one of 7 or 8. So, yeah, 8, starting at principal accessory.
Section B, right under, okay.
Principal accessory structures.
Principals and accessory structures. Why is that not matching up with yours, Jim? Am I on the wrong spot here?
He doesn't get into the specifics, it's just 9 is just a
Right.
list of the,
Because 9.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, right.
there isn't a description of how each one meets or doesn't.
Right. All right, so we're at principal and accessory structures for B. Stream, we're on 16 of 65, bottom of the page. I don't think we've got any issues.
The only question that I had about that was, that section makes reference to retaining walls, and I know there've been some reference about retaining walls as far as the actual building of the dining hall was concerned. I wasn't sure if that's something we wanted to hear about, or if that's something that would just be reserved for the actual building permit itself.
I could address that, it's fine.
Okay,
On the condition that I had put on there for, is with regard to the dining hall, was to verify, because that's the only place we have a retaining wall planned, is to have that fall under the same building permit and review by the codes enforcement.
okay,
Then that'd be fine.
okay. I think we can run through these without doing one by one. Campgrounds,
You have B, G, H, I, K,
B2.
Q, R, S, T.
for the finding of fact, we need individual, do we need a vote for individual on these?
We should vote individually
Okay.
for each one,
All right.
just quickly, so.
Principal and accessory structures, do you have a motion?
Move that the applicant has complied with the principal and accessory structures of shoreline zoning.
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Done. Motion carries 5-0. Section D for campgrounds. Campgrounds shall conform to the minimum requirements imposed under state licensing procedures. Hey, do you have a license for their campground? Is that how that
No,
works?
we don't need to do campgrounds. They're not proposing any new campgrounds.
It's on your list.
Yeah.
No, it was on mine. Yep. I don't know if we need to do that, though. I don't know if they're proposing any new campgrounds, are they?
It's the same.
No.
Do you have to have a license for all those campgrounds, or is that just, no, I don't think so, do you?
I can't imagine.
They're
Campsites
they're
themselves?
campsites, they're
No, we
campsites.
have one license
One for,
for the whole,
so we can cross campsite grounds off?
Yeah, we can cross campsites.
All right,
Sorry for that.
that's all right. Parking areas, item G. So we've determined the parking lot is adequately sized.
Also, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to admit that the applicant utilized our draft considerations for our parking standards as well. So they've kind of gone a little extra step here.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, seems to have taken that into consideration.
We okay?
Mm-hmm.
We give a motion for the parking areas?
Move that the applicant has complied with the requirements under parking areas in the shoreline zoning, section 15.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Carries. Item H, roads and driveways. Feet.
for board reference, the road slopes are less than 8%, so they've met those standards, and they've provided many ditch turnouts for stormwater treatment as well.
Yeah, that was, so the stormwater, the stormwater that's coming off of, I mean, obviously they meet phosphate, but that water is being directed where?
There's, on their plan, they have several ditch turnouts and buffers for the road section, for the proposed road
For the
section.
proposed road section?
Right.
And that would, and then anything that has to do with the new parking area, the parking area of the dining hall will be covered under the next plan. Is that right? For that, okay.
Well, I'm,
Well, for the, not the dining hall, the training center.
training.
Right,
center.
yes, I'm sorry, yes,
Yeah,
right,
okay, just want to be clear about
sorry.
that.
All right, roads and driveways. Anybody else with questions?
I'll move that the application meets the roads and driveways criteria and conform with section 15 land use standards.
Any other questions, discussion? Oh, do we,
Second.
is there a second? Thanks. Moving too fast. Now, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Now, opposed? Stormwater runoff and flood protection, item J.
Both the stormwater management and the erosion control plan, we deferred to Maine DEP.
Yeah. Pending their approval.
Pending their approval. So, so all of that will actually be a condition, right?
Correct.
So, how do you want to address that for the vote? We'll just vote,
They said it'll be addressed
motion.
conditionally.
Just conditionally? Okay. So the stormwater, I'll move that the stormwater runoff and flood protection item of the land use standards on section 15 will be a condition of approval pending receipt from DEP. Okay.
Second.
Is there any discussion? One, okay. All those in favor? Okay. Septic waste disposal. I think we already did this one the last time around. Item K.
Be very similar to your last condition.
Yep.
You'll have approval for one, and the other one will be subject to Maine Center for Disease and,
Department of Health and Human Services.
together. Was that last one?
And,
I thought it was from somewhere else, the other approval.
No. Yeah, Maine Center for Disease Control and Prevention.
That was for the variance on that.
That was for the
Yes, same office.
same
It's
office.
the same.
Same office.
Same office.
Yeah, they've changed that, so.
All right.
You just say condition from the state.
All right, so I move that the project meets the septic waste disposal conditionally awaiting approval from the state.
Second.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Item Q, clearing or removal of vegetation for activities other than timber harvesting.
They've added that value, and I think you had it on the plan to see if it's 5.9% or tree removal or.
For new clearing was 7.55 acres or 5.9%.
So it's well below the requirements for that.
Close, right? It was close. No, I'm only kidding. No, I'm only kidding.
Too serious.
We okay with Q? Yes, certainly isn't very much cutting at all. Someone would like to make a motion then?
I'll move that the applicant has in conformance with Q, clearing of or removal of vegetation for activities other than timber harvesting in the shoreland zone.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? You in favor, Bill?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Motion carries 5-0. Item R, erosion and sedimentation control.
Lost.
You know, I guess the only thing I'm curious on, and maybe we haven't really talked about, the ranges. They're all gonna be cleared and vegetated, right? All the firing ranges that are being proposed?
Yeah, there is, the back side of it.
Yep.
That will be ballistic sand, but the remainder of them will be vegetated.
So do we need to, so the runoff from that area?
And that's handled, that's also addressed with a buffer, a treatment buffer. What happens in that scenario?
Yeah, where does that go?
This plan I showed before. Actually, let me show one more plan. This pipe right here, in this particular one, the water's collected and goes through a pipe. And this area right here is as you should see on your plan, there should be a rectangle.
The residential buffer?
Yep,
Okay.
that's a treatment buffer. And then the other ones all drain forward and are treated, are captured, and there should be another treatment buffer right there.
Yep.
So that's how that's all addressed.
Also, Mr. Chair, on the latest plans we have, they're installing erosion control mesh for a catch of the grass on those steep slopes as well.
And the ranges that are being discontinued, are they going back to the
That
match?
falls in the multi-purpose field
Those will be-
area.
Okay,
So that'll be absorbed by the multi-purpose field.
okay. Any other questions on erosion or sedimentation control?
I'll move the project meets the erosion and sedimentation control provisions of section 15 language standards.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Soils,
Good soils,
good soils?
good soils.
Terminals or something.
Do we have that I didn't actually, I missed all, is there something in here
Yeah.
that, the certified soils?
They did provide early on a soils mapping, and they
Okay.
provided test
All right.
pits for the septic system, so, I mean, it's
Okay.
all glacial till, gravel, sand, good material.
Any other questions, soils? Greg?
No questions, but I'll move that the applicant has met the criteria for soils in the shoreline zoning.
Second? Seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Water quality, item T. Pretty okay, I think the plan, I think it does everything we need it to do. Is there a motion?
I'll move that the applicant has met the water quality standards in the shoreline zone.
Second.
Any other discussion? Yeah. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I mean, don't mean to be redundant, but just so we got it covered, we need a final vote that that whole section has been met.
Okay. We can do that. The whole section.
The whole section 9,
Section 9 of the
shoreline zoning.
shoreline zone. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Done. All right, Jim, you're up. Our surprise.
Or do you want to go through the site plan? We have to go through the site plan standards too.
Did we just do the site plan standards?
We just did the shoreline zoning standards.
Did I completely miss the site?
Page
Section
5, keep going, page 5 of my memo.
You know, I was wondering where that was, all right. We gotta find something wrong here that we can talk about. Yes.
Let's talk about how the Red Sox are doing.
Preservation of landscaping, site plan review standard. Under Article 10, Section E, criteria, we're looking at preservation of landscaping. Jim, you're talking about the buffer that has been noted or will be noted on the plan?
It is noted on the plan.
As a conditional approval?
The deed restriction will need to be, we'll need a
Okay.
copy of the deed restriction, so
All right.
we're requesting as a condition.
Gotcha. How we doing? We okay? Is there a, maybe we should ask for the distribution of spruce and hemlock and white pine.
White pine and red oak, obviously.
On the, before we proceed?
The distribution? No, it just should be allowed to conduct proper forestry in that zone. Which they've already been doing for some 40 years or more.
Preservation of landscaping. Anyone got any comments? I guess we will have some questions eventually on the landscaping of the final project, but I think for right now, yeah, I don't see anything in
And
here.
that's all intended to be, natural planting to go along with the rest of the site. I don't think bringing ornamentals in for any of that makes any sense.
No, I would agree, yeah. I don't, the board, I'm sure the board probably agrees as well. Okay, we have a motion?
I'll move the preservation of landscaping has been accomplished under site plan review standards.
Is there a second?
Second.
And with the conditional approval with the deed restriction, I guess we'll throw it, is that one of the conditions? Okay.
That should
All
be
right.
part of the motion.
Oh, that should, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, with the conditional approval that a deed restriction for the buffer be provided in writing to the town following recording in the county registry of deeds.
I'll renew my second.
All right, any questions? All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Relation of proposed building to the environment. Oh, no, no, sorry. I think we've got a letter from fire, so they're happy. Redesign, redo. We okay?
I think I would move that the relation of proposed building to the environment is met. I'd like to add the condition that the work limit line for the future plan for development of the dining hall be shown on the plan as a conditional approval. Other than that, it meets the site plan review standards.
Second? Little seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Vehicular access. Item C. Whoa,
We've done that adequately.
I think we've already kind of gone through vehicular access and the parking and all that. Right, is there?
Looks good.
Looks good. Is there a motion?
I'll move vehicular access meets the conditions of the site plan review.
Second?
Second.
And any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Parking and circulation? We've already talked about the spaces, we've talked about the numbers. traffic flow. Um, Is the traffic flow, I mean, from the plan it looks like, is it both in and out on both of those
Yeah, I didn't, it's wide enough to, there's the aisles of the parking, yeah, they're all designed to handle two-way
both
traffic.
two-way traffic? Okay. And as the exits and entrances as well? Are they gonna be one side exit, one side entrance, or you're going both?
What'll happen is on drop-off days is the only time it's ever gonna be busy enough to handle that. And they have people on site directing traffic, that's gonna.
To answer your question, it is wide enough to, for.
Two different devices, okay.
I'll move that the plan meets the parking and circulation requirements.
Second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Surface water drainage. We've got any problems there, I think again, we'll wait on the DEP. Plan does a great job capturing all the water. Yep. So, we'll move that we'll accept the plans to control the surface water drainage, and with the condition of waiting on the final permit from DEP.
Was that a motion?
That was a motion.
Second.
Any other
I get to daydream.
discussion? All those in favor? Carries 5-0. Utilities. I think that there's a note already on the three-phase. Not going to change any of the poles placements.
They would have to be part of the condition of the dining hall submittal,
Of the dining hall submittal, okay.
that would clarify it and provide it. It includes pole location, line location, transformer, everything associated with that.
Okay.
Even CFD as well.
Everybody okay with that? Chris, you all right with that? All right, so we'll move that the plan meets the utility section, shoreline zoning with the conditions that actually is already noted on the plan. You already got noted there, right, on your plan?
Correct.
Yeah, so,
Site plan.
site plan. Ready? Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Done. Special features.
Yes, Mr. Chair, as part of this latest submittal, there was a mobilization plan submitted, which was colored.
Oh, yeah.
Which outlines their locations for mobilizations and storage.
Are they okay with special features? Someone like to make a motion?
What paragraph is that again? T?
G. Item G,
Special features.
special features.
It's at the very bottom of page 7. I'll make the motion.
Go ahead.
I move that under site plan review, the applicant has met the special features requirement.
Second.
All those in favor? Passed. Exterior lighting, item H.
There isn't any.
There isn't any, right? You're not gonna do any
Done a
lighting?
great job
Only, as we said,
on the building. just on the dining hall itself.
Thank you. Good.
Ventriloquist, you see how he did that?
I'll move under.
I'll move that exterior lighting, has been
Beat
met.
you to it. You can second it, Craig.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Emergency vehicular access. We've got the knock box. I think the fire department has said go, right?
Go.
So,
He was satisfied with the dry hydrant location as well.
I'll move that the emergency vehicle access of the site plan review has been met by the applicant.
Second.
The only discussion there is the issue of grade again for the new septic field, that be considered, or as Chris mentioned, a row of boulders or something put in there, removing the septic field back. If the board feels amenable to that, maybe we should amend the motion to include that.
I would think that'd be part of if they're gonna do the septic system for the dining hall as part of the plan for their building plan, then that could go on that review and not here.
Yeah, that would fall under that final review of the septic system, because if there were to have any vehicles over that, they'd have to have each 20 chambers anyway.
So we're okay with
So we're
it?
okay.
Okay, all right, fine.
well, but I think Bruce is concerned with accidental driving over the system.
Right, I'm saying, but because of the close proximity to the road, that would fall under the whole review of the septic system.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. You all right?
I'm good.
All right?
Give me a second.
No, we need a motion. Oh, do we have a motion? Do you have a- Well, we're to the vote.
Yes.
All those in favor?
It's
It's hard to keep track.
You going too fast for you?
Yeah, you're moving way too fast. Landscaping, back to landscaping. That tree survey in yet?
Too many pines to count.
Don't forget the red oaks.
So we've got the opening parking lot under the landscaping.
Yes, and I have that as a condition later on as well.
Okay. Then how about we move that the plan meets the landscaping requirements with the condition of coordinating with Public Works for the redesign of the parking lot along Payne Road, is that right?
Plains Road.
Plains Road, sorry. Is there a second?
Sounds right. Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Done. Other considerations or Article 9 standards?
There's really nothing there.
There's nothing there, is it?
Nothing there, no,
No.
it's just all follow-up.
Now can we get to the
Now you wanna get to the secret surprise?
secret surprise? So Jim has prepared finding of facts for the project. Yeah, it runs very similar to what we had, with the exception of, actually, Jim, why don't I let you explain it?
Okay. Runs very similar to what you had. What we've done is we've kind of mimicked what we did for Fry Island, giving you a little background, procedural history. And what I've done this evening is, if you look at page 2, I've actually filled in that as we've gone along through the votes this evening. And then we have a findings of fact on page 3, which is basically a summary of some different things that they've details. And then on page 4, we get into each one of the criteria that you went through this evening and summarized. Note on page 6, under number 9, we'll have to cross out, I did have campgrounds on that, so that'll need to be crossed out. And then again, it's just a quick summary of each one of the requirements that you went through this evening. And really the piece that we need to get to is conclusion. And there are the conditions of approvals that I've recommended, which I think are captured. I think on the last page, I've left a couple blanks for those that the board may have produced this evening, and there is one that Bruce has suggested, which is the work limit line for construction for the dining hall be added to the plan.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
On the conditions of approval under C, I think the board voted not to do that.
Correct.
Right.
Yep. So C
Yes,
can be,
yep.
C can be stricken. And Mr. Chair, what we can do this evening is we can make our final votes for shoreline zoning and site plan approval with the board, and then the board can, because we filled this in as we've gone along this evening, the board can then approve the draft of the findings of fact, and then we can just prepare, fill in, type in, and when the applicant comes in for signatures for the plan, we can simultaneously do the findings of fact.
So, but are the final findings of fact going to need our signatures as well then?
Yes, that's
Okay.
why we'll do it at the same time we do the plan signatures.
Okay.
But at least this streamlines the process, so we don't have to wait 1 month for,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
If there have been no contentious issues, and we've basically gone through all the items in approval, and, you know, okay, we're just basically reviewing those same things in the same sequence here, passing on them.
Mm-hmm.
I'll read back the,
If we add item J, work limit lines for future construction involving the dining hall shall be indicated on the site plan.
And delete C.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question when it's appropriate. I don't know if it is appropriate.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, on the top of page 4, it's read through the shooting, and I think it still indicates 10 p.m.,
Oh,
from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then I also don't see anything in there about unless special events are scheduled. And so it seems to indicate that this is setting a condition that, you know, one Saturday a month and so forth, but there's nothing in there about, or
I wonder if
perhaps
we
there
should
is,
just,
off-season and special programs.
yep.
Jim, why don't we just take all of that out and just reference
The SOP.
the SOP? And,
Just reference the executive summary.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, yeah.
now,
So you can take it, basically we can take it, I think you can take it from at the end of page 3, that last says
where it says,
non.
right,
So from there to the end of that paragraph, it can be stricken.
Maybe we should actually attach the executive summary as an attachment and reference it to this paragraph, just in case the paperwork becomes separated at some point in time, or, you know, for whatever reason.
Well, it's part of the application, so it shouldn't be.
how do changes get made?
Raymond's filing
To-
system is,
Sorry, what was your question?
How do
Generally
changes get made to the operating procedures,
Well,
the
it's
executive summary?
part of their application at this point, so anything that would be changed would be an amendment, which has to either go through the staff or go through the planning board.
So our ordinances as written would allow the staff to approve a change to those procedures?
Well, what would happen is, we really don't have a noise ordinance in that case, so what the staff would have to do is figure out if it's substantial or significant beyond what was originally approved. My guess is that if it was Chris or I who were still here, we'd feel that because of the sensitivity of that would have to come back to the board. The other condition you could put on that is you could put I mean, you've made your vote, but we could put a condition on it, because we haven't voted on conditions yet, that any changes to the standard operations procedures for shooting will require a board review or be done at staff review. So you can make that a condition if you want, if that's a concern of yours.
Well, I'm just wondering if it's really a planning board issue, and if it's not, or a staff or selectman issue. And also if it's just an administrative change, as long as, you know, as long as, I mean, we're putting it in here and we're referencing that, then they'll be locked into it unless they change it, right? And if we're locking in the one that they're presenting today,
Right.
and, you know, they need to change that for some reason, you know, just for any, you know, for any logical reason.
I mean, it's part, I mean, yeah, it's
It's
part of their,
part of the-
it's part of the site plan application at this
Right.
time, so it's locked in with your approval. You can put a condition on there that if they wanna change it, what the steps could be, because right now we don't have a noise ordinance per se,
Right,
but it's part of their operation, which I believe would fall back under Chris.
If they're not following it, we could issue a stop work order, similar to, you know, construction, that they couldn't use the ranges until they came into compliance or came back to the board.
well, I'm not really worried, I mean, I think we can probably trust the Boy Scouts. If we can't trust the Boy Scouts, it's too trust. But no, no, but what I'm thinking of is that after we lock in this procedure that they've written and agreed to, and now in the middle of the summer, you know, they need to make some changes to that in order to stay in compliance with it, that I would like to have some mechanism for them to be able to do that.
I personally feel that would fall under CEO review with his coming to the planning board if he felt that the change was egregious enough to merit our consideration. That's my view.
So you wanted to, so if Chris can't do it, it comes back to the planning board for changing?
You know, I think it would fall into like any business, you know, you have standard hours of operation, and if there's a substantial change to that, then the complaint or would be filed with Chris. If you had a business that came in here, right, I mean, how do you?
That's exactly how it would work. Any complaint would come to me. If I can't work it out with the Boy Scouts, I'd come to you guys.
That
What-
work? And that's why I
I mean,
said,
because we don't have a noise ordinance, so
Well, we don't, and that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering, should it really be coming to us at that point? Or, so let's take both sides. An administrative change, no big deal, comes to you, you say fine. But how about if there are complaints coming in based upon it? You know, I don't think that's a
that
planning
would go to
board
the
issue.
Board of Selectmen.
That'd go to the Board of Selectmen.
Because now we'd be talking about a noise ordinance.
Right. So,
but I think those mechanisms are in place already, right? There's nothing special we need to do.
no.
No.
Okay,
Only if they're gonna change their hours.
right. If they're gonna change their hours, it'll come to you. If you're not comfortable, it'll come to us.
Correct.
Okay. Does that sound okay? Eric?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Does that mean that we have to remove from the table the previously approved will maintain safe and healthful conditions and amend that to any change in the operating hours, merit CEO review with him coming to the planning board?
I think
I think we need to do that.
I think we probably need to get that into the verbiage that we're gonna delete out.
Well, I'm gonna delete out, what I've done is I've deleted out that paragraph from that first word at the end of page 3. And the next paragraph on page 4, I've deleted that whole section out. We just-
So can we just add a sentence in there that says modifications to the plan will be either approved by code enforcement or will come back to the planning board?
Okay.
And then I think that will cover it. Is that okay with, that's done right?
Yeah, that's fine. One other item that I caught, it was the new parking calculations show 134 spaces. The state's 125.
Well, it's 100, it was 125,
For the last review.
what's in the new, what's being provided is new because you've got an existing parking lot we're using some of the calculations, right? Because we weren't allowing the ones in the field, the multi-purpose field.
Yeah, so how I recalculated that is by adding in the trailer spaces for cars.
Well, we can, it's a,
So either way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a,
On the actual site plan, I put the table there now, it's just, at the end of it, it states 130.
it's fine.
Well, what about the overall plan? The overall parking number is 137 parking spaces. That should be 130. We have 133 parking spaces.
133 is required by the dining hall,
Right.
and we're showing 134.
Oh, okay.
So that 134 needs to be, 137, and then there's only 5 spaces which are required for handicap.
All right.
So we'll make those edits as well.
Good.
You need to mention something about, we talked earlier about NRA standards to operate the firing ranges. Is that in their executive stuff anyways, or do we need to put that on here, that they'll operate under NRA standards?
Oh, good point. We missed that. Add that right into that last, that right after, or right in between.
Right. It should be,
That's standard operations, that was
Oh, it is in the SOP?
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
part of that.
Bottom of the overview of,
Perfect.
So the 2 votes, Mr. Chair, that I believe we have left are, well, 3 votes actually, are one for the overall shoreline zoning approval, one for the overall site plan approval, and one for the overall project approval.
Did we do the overall shoreline zoning?
We didn't do an overall for the shoreline zoning.
no, we just did one for section 15.
All right. Have we,
You can merge those all into one, or you can do
we're gonna
it.
merge it all into one. Are we okay with everything through? Any other changes? All right, let's. That's right. So we didn't do the overall criteria for section 15, is that what we missed?
No, we didn't do it overall for shoreline zoning and overall for site plan. You did each one of the requirements, but you didn't do the overall. I mean, it's basically implied, but it's just a formality to
Okay.
go through.
All right, so I move that the plan as submitted with the conditions as noted meets the requirements of the shoreline zoning ordinance.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. And I'll move that the plan,
Oh,
no, sorry, go ahead.
I thought we were gonna do them all at once.
It's,
Just go.
I'd get confused.
I didn't help much.
I'll move that the plan as submitted meets all of the conditions of the shoreline zoning and the land use ordinances, and all of the other miscellaneous application requirements. As with the, oops, wait a minute, I got it, with the conditions noted, with the following conditions noted on the finding of facts, with exception of item C, the addition of item J, and the modifications to the firing range procedures. Any other discussion? I capture everything in there?
There were, there was also some modifications to the parking and circulation, the number of parking spaces.
Oh, no, thank you.
Parking spots.
And I think you've got everything else.
I think Oh, we're deleting out the campground
Yep.
out of the, okay. Any other discussion? So a vote, 4 is your vote to, is the final vote for the approval of the project. No is to deny the project as presented. All those in favor? Yeah, opposed, no abstentions. Done.
So, Mr. Chair, what we'll do is, once we get the conditions on the plan, and we'll provide both the board with the plan for the signature block, and we'll provide you with the findings of fact for signatures.
Okay.
Just want to thank the board very much for your consideration and for working with us. As you know, the schedule is really important to us, and I think, by working with us, we're able to meet it. This is huge for us and going to affect a lot of kids throughout the southern part of the state.
Great, but we're happy to be able to do it. You guys are easy to work with, though. A great plan. There's not much we really.
Are those 3 new vans to transport your soldiers in and out?
Yes, sir. We have a fourth one coming in tomorrow.
I think we all look forward to a weenie roast when everything's done.
We'll throw some deer steaks on that, too.
Harvested locally. The ones that wandered into the firing range?
Anybody other business?
We do. Planner communications, anything? We do have a little bit to talk about as far as the May meeting goes. And before we adjourn. We have no applications pending right now for the May meeting, but we do need to start in on the next round of ordinance work. So, actually, I was talking with Danielle, if we were finishing up this early, we could have done some of that today. Or we could do that, we could kind of look at it, but I thought maybe it'd be more productive to just get together in May and look at, organize our review of the ordinances as to what we want to work on for the next round.
Talk about things we see that might need clarification.
Yeah, the land use,
Whatever, yeah.
cleaning up the land use and just kind of getting Jim a, kind of an order of attack that we'd like to look at this one, look at this one, and look at this one. Does that, and then that would give us time to kind of look through it and jog our memories as to what.
I'll also be inviting Stephanie and Sheila too.
Yeah, perfect.
Our ordinance person.
So what will you be looking for materials to help you with that? Or you just want to have an open discussion, or everybody comes in with their own list, or what?
I had a list.
We
that
have a
I kept-
list.
I kept
Can
the
you dig
list
that
every
out?
time you mentioned something.
Okay.
So, and I can, would you like summaries or, because normally when we start this process in August, I give you summaries and attachments, so.
That would be great.
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll all have our own little things that we discovered or that we want to talk about.
And this will be posted as a workshop?
Yeah, well, we'll do it as a workshop unless application comes in. So the last piece of business I do have for the board is is Jim's last finding of facts. And he was, so we have to do a finding of facts. I think the way Jim's got it set up right now is really good. Those of you that were here a long time ago, Bill, you remember this, you used to come and give us those conditions right before we made the motion. My concern, and I asked Jim to pull this back after we handed it all out, because even though this was a pretty simple project and we all kind of knew where it was going, my concern was that to have this distributed out to everybody prior to the start of the meeting would almost kind of be setting up as if the decision had already been made.
Right.
And I would be concerned about that if in fact, it wasn't a project that is proceeding along as easily as it was going. And I'm more than willing to get feedback on that as to what you guys think. And it would have been, if it would have been more helpful to have this as we went through it, or just to kind of do it as we've done it in the past.
The only thing that I see that is problematical is if there are multiple things that we discuss that become issues that don't correlate to the document that Jim has drawn up beforehand, And obviously, then there's going to be the correlation of whatever changes we made with Jim having changed his documents, and we're having to read through 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages quite rapidly and
Right.
assimilate it, and you know, how do we make sure that we're not missing anything? It's like this document is excellent, it's very useful if there have been no changes, but obviously if there have been changes, we haven't gained a lot by having the document there, because
My,
you got a magic
my,
wand you can wave.
my thought is if what is presented to you is a substantial change, then there's a good chance that we need to table in that situation.
So it'll wait another month anyway.
Yeah, if there's that many substantive changes to that, you know, I mean, there's a point where you can only have, you know, so many conditions, or you have so many substantive changes, and if they're being done on the fly, probably we want to wait another month and capture them correctly.
In which case, one of us would express our
You know, the motion would be to
Motion
table.
table.
you know, not settled with what
Right.
we're doing here and wait. Okay,
Right.
that's fine, yeah.
Or,
That's what I was
or
getting.
the other thing you could do is like we did with Fry Island, you can go through everything and just say, okay, you know, we want to see this before we vote on the final findings. You know, we can do that way
Right.
too. There's two different ways you can do that. But either way, you never should feel pressured to, you know, try to address everything on the fly, because, you know, mistakes are gonna get made and there's gonna be holes. So I think the way we're doing it is a vast improvement over the way we've done it before. And I'll try to do as much as I can to preempt, you know, not being suggestive that the board's going to approval, but have it basically ready in the event that they are.
Right, I think that's the best way to do it. And I think it also, Jim, it keeps you, you know, you took a lot of the comments from the Fry Island as if you were trying to pave over, Raymond, and, and I think that, you know, with you kind of distributing a document prior to us even looking at it,
Right.
you know, really just kind of sets that up, that kind of dynamic up even more.
Yep.
That I think we could
The
avoid.
only thing I'd say about that, though, is like, we do all these motions tonight. We could have gone through them half the time if we'd known, in other words, if he doesn't hand out a document, but he's ready to give us what the wording ought to be. If we look to him, what wording should we have,
Yeah,
then when we're all done, that's what we've done.
right.
We don't have the document, but it would save an awful lot of time. That's what was good about it before. You've got the document in front of you, you know what the motions are. It's the same difference though, when you're all said and done, he hands the thing out tonight.
Yeah,
Okay? You get the same criticism because we don't have time to read all that. So we are rubber stamping what he just wrote. If you have the document when you're working, at least you can't be criticized for that. So tonight, we didn't read all that, we just, we couldn't possibly do it all, so there's two
Maybe.
sides to that.
Yeah,
Yep.
maybe the appropriate way to do that is once you've gone through your discussion and you're ready to undertake that process of going through each one, maybe that's the time to hand it out. So
Well,
that,
and let me ask a question there. Is there any reason for your workload? You know, you prepared this to hand out tonight. Is it possible for you to be able to prepare this to be sent with our, packet in the mail from Danielle with a note on top of it saying this is only applicable if there are no issues and we move through the approval process with, everything being approved in mass as we go?
well, there wasn't,
You know what I'm saying?
there wasn't very much difference between Jim's
Right.
finding of facts and the memo that he
because I
sent
set my
out.
memos
Well,
up.
no, there weren't, but if we had that as part of our packet, then we would have time to review it, and Bill's concern would be.
Well, then I think we do,
We don't have time for staff review and all that.
Yeah.
I think then you do get into, you've got such a lead time that I am coercing you into one way or the other.
Technically, the public could ask what we were looking at.
Right.
and
I mean, if
what we
I'm
were regarding,
suggesting,
And then they
you know,
could see that document. And
Right.
Again, the inference could be made, well, we're just
I
second.
mean, my memo is just
Jim had
that.
said.
That's why I always state in the end of my memo that these are just suggestions. You have always the right to modify or do whatever you want to my memorandum. But when I give you a findings of fact, that's a lot more concrete document than just a memorandum.
That's supposed to be our decision memorialized rather than his decisions adopted by us.
I think the way to do it is, either we hand it out, when you're ready to go through those motions, to guide you through those motions, but maybe we gotta have a preemptive statement or something in front of that these are, suggested by the planner, they're not final, or something to that. You make a statement before you go through it, or you just hand it out, as Bill said, you just hand it out as you're getting ready to go through that, so you've got something to read the motions off of.
Well, Bill, you remember though, when we used to get those conditions of approval, right? I mean, from
Yeah.
you, right?
Yeah.
You remember that,
Yeah.
And so we never had them ahead of time. That was when we were,
Only when we get to the meeting.
until we got to the meeting.
Yeah.
Just
Right?
your suggestion.
I think it's helpful if you're not really in tune. I mean, you don't wanna miss something. So we're counting on him to come up with, between the two of them, the three of them, to come up with, so we don't screw up.
Right,
So if we don't get the book in front of us with what we ought to say, or how we ought to handle it, it isn't, I never looked at it, public might be different, I never looked at it as he's telling us what to do. I think it's all about covering your ass and doing it right. So that's what you look for that, to help you. And we can disagree with it like we did, we can change it, we have.
right.
So I just think it's nice to have, I don't take the rubber stamp piece to it at all. Especially, but I'd be more critical at the end like we did tonight, because we didn't have a chance to, we agreed with all that, and he had said, yeah, you guys did all this, so it was fine. But on
A more
more,
involved one.
yeah, it might not be so much fun that way. And
Well, I
Right.
think an involved one like you had with Fry Island, you would take the painstaking steps of giving yourself some additional time to
Yeah.
review it and come back in 30 days. I mean, that project took, what, 2 years?
Yep,
2 years to approve 30 days was not gonna be the end all on a 2-year
Well,
project.
what would have happened though, we would have done a draft, okay?
Yes.
This is a preliminary draft.
Right.
Get the final draft for next month and we'll sign it then.
Right.
Which is what we did.
that's what we did, that's exactly what we
Tonight, we
did.
were able to do it all. So we could have tabled it though, if we hadn't, we
Well,
weren't satisfied.
Well, no, we wouldn't have tabled it. I think the finding of fact part is kind of going way back. We used to do this like 9, 10 years ago. We would, the planner would read that whole finding of fact with every checkoff item
Yep,
after the board had done everything.
yep.
You know, and so we're just trying to
Oh, it's great, I
avoid-
liked it. I thought this was fabulous.
Yeah, we're trying to avoid that time crunch.
And I
So-
think the other thing we've done is we've got additional documents, so if there were people in the public, we could present them so we wouldn't have to read it because they have it
Right.
written in
Yeah.
hands.
Yep,
It's a great thing, just no matter how, I'd leave it up to you, how you wanna do it. You're chairman of the board. Whatever you wanna do.
I mean, either way, we've captured it. I mean, you haven't signed it because we've captured some typos or some corrections or some modifications. And that's the whole idea, is to guide you. So I think Bill's on the right track, that you can hand it out, use it as a guide, and then we can correct it in the end. And if it's perfect, then you can sign it that night. If it's not, then we can come back when the plan is ready. Because a lot of times, the plan's not even ready for signatures the night that you approve it.
right, right.
That's why I'm saying you can have the findings of fact and the final plan, boom, boom, sign them both at the same time. The applicant's off to the races.
So how about if we try, if you have the finding of, how about if we try to, the next time, you give us your proposed conditions for the plan, separate from the finding of fact?
Yep.
And, because the finding of fact is not much different than what your memo is. But you have, so the board would have.
And you
the
had
con-
that this evening, you had
Right.
my conditions approved, yeah.
Yeah, but no, we'll have the conditions of approval prior to going into our discussion, but not the finding of facts.
Right, but that's what you had this evening, same situation.
They're at the end of the
You're
memo.
at the end of the memo.
Oh, yes, you're right, okay, that's true. All right,
So I mean, it just,
Let's
as
leave-
Bill said, it's just a tool for when you're going through that step by
Right.
step. It just guides you a little bit tighter than
Yep.
my memo would. Because I tried
Okay.
to set the memo up because it's just convenient to follow the piece by piece of the ordinance.
I wonder if
All
we
right.
should be taking a 10-minute silent period for the board to stop.
Yep.
We take 10 minutes we sit here and read the paperwork.
That's what they've done in some other communities.
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
If I had
Yeah.
that 10 minutes in the
Yep.
middle of all this, then I would have felt a little more comfortable.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a
That's a good
idea.
suggestion.
You're not handing it out in advance.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Move adjourned.
Second?
Yes.
Done.